Welcome to Abundance. You guessed it, a podcast dedicated to all things surrounding dance. I am Kristen.
And I am Hannah, and we are two best friends who are brought together by this art form.
Please join us in 5, 6, 7, 8. Hi, everyone. Today we have with us Marcela Gómez Lugo. She went to school with us at Mercyhurst, and we recently saw on social media that Marcela has choreographed or co-choreographed a children's ballet called, is it Chocolat? Is that how you say it?
Chocolat.
Based on a book her mother published. And so we just learned about this, and we are so excited to have her here with us today to learn more about it. So welcome, Marcela.
Thank you for having me here today.
Of course. So before we dive into your latest work, can you just kind of share with our listeners a little bit about where you are right now and what you've been up to? So just kind of a general background.
Yeah, so I'm currently living in St. Louis, Missouri, and I'm dancing with a professional ballet company called Ballet 314, which is directed by Rachel Bodie and Robert Poe. And the company is small. Its mission is really just to highlight like the local talent and to collaborate with the community as well. And so it's been a really good time. I've just met a lot of wonderful people that just want to make ballet like a better place, and I feel like that's very important for me as well. And so I'm with the company as a dancer, of course, but I'm also doing choreography for it as well.
Very nice. And as Kristen said, we're super excited to have you here today, Marcela. It's been a couple of years since Kristen and I have seen her in person or really have talked to her over Zoom. So this is a pleasure. I want to next talk a little bit about how and when your mom published this book and if it's still out today and where it can be purchased.
Yeah, so before I forget, so the book is available to be purchased online via Amazon, and so I'll be sending you the link for it as well. And so this is kind of embarrassing, but I don't remember the exact date when the book was published. I can look it up for you, but
That's okay.
It has been not a really long time, but it has been a couple of years for sure.
Okay.
Yeah, and the book is called Chocolat and the Master of My Heart, and it's what makes it really interesting is that it's kind of two stories in one. And so it's the same story, right, of the same dog Chocolat and the adventures that it has with the owner who finds her as a stray and all that comes together. But actually the first half of the book is from the dog's point of view, and then the other half of the book is actually the same story but from the owner's point of view as well. So
Ooh, that's an interesting perspective.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah.
That reminds me a little bit of, I can't remember the specific books, but I feel like growing up, I definitely read some books where sometimes it would have like chapter to chapter would switch off.
Yeah.
With like the narrator's perspective and everything. I always remember really liking those books. So that's really cool.
Yeah. I think also what's kind of interesting about it as well is that, you know, each character has its own feelings and emotions. And so it's actually really cool to be able to read it, to like experience the dog, the pet's point of view, right? And then the human's point of view, which at the end of the day, you realize it's quite similar anyway. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So was this book around when you were growing up, Marcela, or was it like something that just came out more recently?
I remember she wrote it a little bit while I was older. I think I have to say around when I was in college, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think I was that young.
You don't think you're that?
I'm gonna grab a copy. It's like right there and I can see
Okay.
it.
Go for it. Go for it.
I'll be right back. Okay, so here it is. I'm sorry. I should have had it on me already.
Oh, don't apologize. No, the reason why I asked, because I think it would have probably a very different feeling for you if you read it as a young child versus an adult. I bet you would have a different perspective. So that's why I was just curious.
Yeah, well, actually, so it's first edition, right? The first time it was ever published, it was in 2014. And so that was when I believe that's when I graduated high school. Yes. So I wasn't young, but I was a lot younger than I am now. And then it was re-edited and published again with the second edition in 2019. And so that's just like 2 years ago, right? So I think as everything, I feel like as I gotten older, I've learned to appreciate more of my parents' work as well. So
yeah, absolutely. And I guess going forward a little bit more about, what the book's about. Can you talk about the plot? Like how was your mom inspired to write this, and what is it about, the book itself?
yeah, so this is like the best part about the story is that it's actually based on real life and real events. And so what happened was my mom, just like in the book, it's very detailed, correct to like real life. My mom, just like in the book, she had left for a weekend out to take care of her parents who live in what you would say like the countryside of Puerto Rico. Yeah, and so she left for the weekend. And when she was there, as always, she always took like runs. She's a very active person and like a very sporty person as well. And so after she arrived to their house, which she typically stays for like a whole weekend, she went on a run. And this is, you can imagine, it's an area that has like, I say like farm area, right? So it has like cows and it's a very like lively and free area with like big spaces and stuff like that. And so she went on a run, and then she saw like by the end of the road, she saw like this brown looking animal, and she didn't really think what it was. Like she was kind of confused with what it was. And then as she came across it, she discovered that it was this dog, right? And this puppy, this like super brown chocolate lab. Yeah. And so basically that's how it all started. And as in the book, the dog and her kind of like have some interactions where, and I remember my mom telling me this afterwards when she called me. She was like, well, I wasn't, well, she is a huge animal lover, yes, and like she loves animals, and I always grew up with her taking in strays. Like that was a very like normal thing, and that can be like dogs, cats, lizards, goats, like anything, right? And so yeah, so just like anything that needed care and love in the moment, she would rescue it. But anyway, so I remember that she called me and she was like, I wasn't sure what to do, so I decided to keep running. And she was like, and in my head I was thinking, if this cute dog can keep up with me in my run, then we're kind of like meant to be, right? And so the dog, it is still, right? She was a puppy, and so she was super excited and clumsy, big head, big paws, right? And so yeah, and so she and a dog ran until the end of the road. Then she ends up asking a neighbor, like, is this your dog? Do you know of anybody that owns this dog? And the neighbor is very non-concerned and it's like, no, that is just a stray that has been eating in my trash. So clearly it was just a stray that nobody really cared for, and that's how like this story started. And so she took the dog back home to my grandparents' house, and afterwards she was gonna visit some friends at the beach. And so she did. She took the dog to the beach. And of course, this is like the first time that a puppy is like seeing sand and seeing water. So you can imagine, like, it's a really enriching like story with really cool visuals and details. And long story short, that was it. And then she just they went to the vet afterwards during that weekend, and then she finally came home, and then my mom's home just became her home forever. So that's it.
Oh,
Yeah, it's really sweet.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that with us. And I think that that's really special and cool that it, like you said, drew from a personal experience of hers. So really cool.
and quick question, is the dog's name Chocolat?
Yes,
Is that in like real life, that's her name?
Yeah, it's kind of funny. Just, with all of our cats, with our dogs and everything, every time we had a pet, my mom would have this habit of naming them after food or after like a good smell. So yeah, so it's just like a thing that she likes to do.
Yeah,
So cute, adorable.
it is. Aw. So now switching gears and talking a little bit more about the ballet, now that we've learned a little bit about the book itself, what was the process like getting this approved to create a ballet? So how did you kind of go about making this happen?
Yeah, so it was, interestingly enough, an idea that my mom had always kind of pushed for us to. She just had this feeling that, like, she was like, I made this book and it had good reviews because she was able to take the book in Puerto Rico and take it to schools and have children like read it and then like get to know the actual real dog and everything. So so she had all these years of branding the book and promoting the book, right? But still, she felt that like there could be way more done with it. And so it wasn't until last year when I was also thinking, like, I want to start creating work as a choreographer, and I was like, but I want to start with something that has kind of like a personal story behind it. And then my mom and I were talking, and I just kind of wrote this proposal. So I literally wrote an email to my directors and just like a one-page proposal of like, my mom has this book, and I think we can make a really good collaboration. And also, I had in mind the fact that Ballet 314, the year before that, had actually premiered their first children ballet. And so I kind of knew that they had some kind of interest in that area of work. So I'm just a very assertive person. I just wrote this proposal, and I was hoping for the best. And to be honest, I was honestly thinking like that this could be done in like 2026. Like, I had no idea this could be created now. So close in time. And so yeah, I wrote the proposal, and my directors read it, and they just told me, yeah, I think this is a good idea, but let's just wait until the next season, because they typically like to have children ballets premiere in the spring and not in the fall, as it's more of like a, it's a more joyful time. So and yeah, and then after our fall season ended, they just kind of reached out, and we're like, well, we're ready to start rehearsals whenever you want. And I was like, okay. So it was kind of a good conversation and a good startup that way.
Yeah, that sounds like a rather smooth process of getting approved and everything, which is wonderful. And love the go-getter, the initiative, and yeah, all of that. Great.
Yeah, love that. Love that for you. I think that's just a super fun way to go about something. You never know really what's going to happen, but you sent this proposal and they ended up liking it, and they were like, well, we can't do it now, but we can do it very soon, and now it's happening. Now it's a thing. Have you finished choreographing, or is it in the process right now?
So technically speaking, yes. So it's me and Rachel Bodie, who is my director. She and I have been co doing the choreography, and it's basically done. It's basically done.
Is she the dog in the picture?
No, she's not. That's a
I was just looking it up.
Okay. So right now we're at the stage where it's basically done. We just have a few little holes, right? Like a few little holes to fill. That's more about transitions and making sure that it fits with the narration. But we're very close to being done, and I'm very excited to see like the final creation. So
awesome. And do you want to just talk about a little bit more about the choreographic process itself? Like what went into that? I know everybody handles this so differently, and whether it was a big challenge doing a story ballet, if that's different from, it sounds like what you're used to, just all that good stuff.
Yeah, so I think so. Me personally, as a choreographer, I've always been story driven. So in that sense, it was kind of easy for me just because I enjoy working that way. However, something that I haven't mentioned or maybe not have gone into it as much is that the ballet is completely has a complete narration of the actual book. So it has an actual script that my mom and I made. And so it couldn't be exactly like the book because especially in Spanish, things kind of sentences sound way longer than what they actually are. Yes. And so we did have to, and it took us quite a while. So me and my mom and Rachel, of course, we kind of took a long time to create the script because it had to be a script that could be easily followed by dancers and followed by children, which is like what's really important. And so we also have to change some of the language to make it more easily comprehensible for an audience of all ages, right? So like, it doesn't matter if you're 3 years old or 85, just be easy to understand. And so that was actually, before we even choreographed anything, we had to create a script. And so once that script was prepared, then we could have like a rough draft recording of it. And also like the script is in Spanish and English. So every sentence is said in English and then it's said again in Spanish as well. So that comes with its own difficulty as something that you wanna express right away. You have to with movement, you have to kind of delay it so that it can fit with both sentences at the same time without missing a beat. So way before choreography and costumes and ideas and characters, we have to just think about a script. And so afterwards, it's actually been a really learning and interesting experience as Mia and Rachel, my director, I think we both have different choreography processes. So I'm a kind of person that I kind of need to choreograph before I come into the studio. So I need to have an idea of like, okay, am I gonna come to the studio with 8 counts, 16 counts, 32 counts? Like I need to have something because I just fear sometimes that I just take too much time creating movement in the spot, right? So that's just how I personally work so far. But Rachel, who is obviously far more experienced than I, she is very talented and she is able to use create movement on the spot, right? So it has been like a good learning experience from both sides on how to collaborate that way. And so I think the sweet spot has been that we, like for example, like on a Monday evening, we talk, okay, for this week, we're gonna work on, for example, these two scenes. Can you create 16 counts for the scene? And then once we're there, we're gonna change it up and add, you know, cannons and textures and everything. So yeah, so choreography wise, I think it's been a really it's been fun, it's been challenging, but also easy just because I have just really good people to work with. So
Yeah, that's super important. You know, I truly believe that if you have good people in your circle, it makes the process that much smoother. So I'm really glad to hear that you're able to have such success with Rachel and with this creation of the ballet. And also, I'm sure it's just such a exciting thing for your family as well to have your mom's story be told through movement. Is she really excited about it? And is the rest of your family also?
yeah, she's actually really excited. I would say she's almost a little bit like she's very eager to see the actual finished process, and she's like, oh, like, can I see videos of rehearsal? And so I'm more of like, okay, let me send you a video once it's like clean, just because, you know, I like to like show clean work. But yeah, they're super excited. Both my parents, my mom and dad, were able to actually see part of our rehearsal process in the beginning, so that was really encouraging to see as well. And I think overall, like you said, it's a very good moment for our family, as well as, like, you know, we are a family of artists, and so artists don't always get the recognition that they deserve. So I'm just really happy that from my part and from my experience that I can kind of kind of share how talented my mom is too. So
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, I love it.
I
Yeah.
can just hear like the pride in your voice. Like,
Yeah.
it's great.
It is great. It is really great. Well, on that note, I think this is a good time to take a short break, but thank you so much, Marcela, and we will be back shortly.
thank you.
Here's a word from our sponsor. Alrighty, so we are back. You kind of answered this before, but especially with the bilingual, narration, it seems like a wonderful opportunity to bring more cultural diversity to both ballet and children. Have people been very receptive to it so far? What are your experiences so far with that?
Yeah, so far I think people have been receptive and also very curious. I think that for sure. It was very important for me to keep the integrity of where the story happens in the first place, which is the reason, which I'll probably talk about more later, but it's the reason why all of the music is done by Puerto Rican composers, all four of them. And so that was all on purpose, because I think, you know, yes, the story could be powerful still, and it could still be heart-pulling if it was, you know, here in St. Louis located. But I think what adds that spark and that magical sense of it is also that it's based on Puerto Rico, which is an island that just has so many things to talk about and so many things to discover, and it has a lot of talented people in it as well. And so that was the main purpose to why I decided to keep that, and to find composers that were Puerto Rican and that could have work that would be available to use for us as well. And yeah, and like you mentioned, I think, especially for me, making sure that the stories that I tell with my choreography are diverse is very important as well. And I think also that's something that Ballet 314 is also doing pretty well, is that we really, as a company, I do see like the goal of just not just telling the same story all over again, but even if it's a story that people know about, it's crafted a little different so that it's more accessible for the audience as well.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And I almost think that, you know, you want to make it authentic to your culture, where you came from, and to pay tribute to your mom's story. So I think it's so true that like you wouldn't want to just have it based in St. Louis, because it's not where the story took place, right? So it makes a lot of sense that you would want to create it from where it was planned out, where it began. And just having the Puerto Rican composers too, I think also is a great choice, because you're paying, again, ode to your mom, ode to Puerto Rico, and it's also allowing the audience as well as the dancers, and for anyone else that is seeing the ballet or reading the book, to, you know, give that sense of culture. And
a little,
yeah, sorry, Kristen, what?
oh no, sorry. I just said, yeah, a little taste of the culture. That's, yeah, I was thinking the same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's also important that that kids, you know, I know so when going back to the first question, but when I wrote this proposal and when my mom, you know, talked to the company and the board, it was important for us that that the story was easily available for all children to see. Because I think it's also the idea that ballet, that to be a good audience of ballet, that you have to be of a certain social class or live in a certain area. And I think that's widely wrong, and we need to change that. And so that's one of the reasons why actually a lot of our performances of Chocolat are actually free to the audience, because it's very important for us that anybody can see the story, and that anybody can not feel like they have to buy a ticket to enjoy it. So that's important for us as well.
Yeah, and you know, art is such a beautiful thing. I mean, this is also my bias and personal opinion, but I believe that like everyone should be able to experience that. And I think that's super great. It's like you're breaking boundaries in St. Louis. Those old traditional ways that we've seen ballet, you're kind of breaking those molds. And I think that's important. And that's hopefully what other places will do across the country too, because everyone should be exposed to art and to ballet and to dance. And it shouldn't be isolated to one group of people. I like that.
Yeah, and it's also the reason why that we brand this as a ballet, like not just like as any dance show or as any theater show, but as a ballet, just because that word just comes with so many yeah, exactly, just comes with so many like ideas of what it should be. So I think it's gonna make like a good surprise for some people to see what it could actually be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, breaking those stereotypes a little bit. I love that. So this might be kind of hard to answer, and perhaps maybe you won't even know this yet until the final product is put out there, or it might just change between now and then. But what is one of the biggest like lessons or takeaways from this overall experience for you? I know, kind of a hard one.
I know, I'm just trying to think. Well, I don't know why this came to my brain. This might be, I might say something else later. But the idea of like, that you don't have to suffer for your art is important. I think just because you know, before I wrote the proposal, I was nervous because I was like, you know, I've never created a children's ballet, especially a 45-minute show, right? I've never done this, and I just had the idea that it was gonna be, even though I have a lot of great support and a great team of dancers that I can use and of mentors that can guide me and directors that can give me advice. I was just thinking that it was gonna be really hard. I was gonna just think that it's gonna be like exhausting and just like a really hard process. And while yeah, we have those days where we're all like, you know, mentally tired. I think that I've learned that if you are really passionate about what you do, like the work does go quicker and smoother. So I think that's very important. I think also things that I have learned throughout this process is to be okay with changes and to be adaptable, and but also to be very confident in your vision, because if you want something to look a certain way because you think it's gonna make the story better, then definitely stick to it. You know, I think that's very important. And overall, just the idea of true collaboration. I've also learned a lot from Rachel about that, just because, you know, like putting on a ballet, yes, it involves choreography, yes, it involves getting dancers and rehearsal time, but also has a lot of admin work, right? And a lot of work into promoting it, a lot of work into creating flyers and ads and creating contracts for your musicians, a lot of work into keeping the work alive by applying for grants, you know, so I think I've just learned a lot about how to actually create like a long lasting work that can be redone again in like later seasons. And I feel like that is a really invaluable experience that not a lot of people get to do. Because usually if you get hired to choreograph a piece, you put it on the dancers and leave, right? You don't really have to think much about, I would say, besides music selection and costuming, you don't really have to think about, you know, finding a venue. And so like, yeah, I think it's just been a really good learning experience about how to work with other people while keeping your vision true.
Thank you for sharing that. And in terms of bringing the ballet back, like you said, are you looking to keep Chocolat as solely a Ballet 314 production, or are you hoping to maybe restage this or allow schools or companies to perform it elsewhere?
Yeah, I haven't really thought about that yet. I do think it's going to live within Ballet 314 for quite a while, and also just because we haven't. Well, the company itself has interest of it being like a permanent piece in their repertoire, so I feel like that's really important as well. However, I do, you know, I do foresee some future collaborations where like this ballet could be taken, you know, somewhere else to be presented. But so far, at least for now, it will stay within the company. But we're definitely trying our hardest to brainstorm into how it can be branched out and also have an audience that's not just St. Louis. Yeah.
Cool. And something that just came to mind right now. Are you performing in this ballet, Marcela? Are you getting to dance?
Yes, I am getting to dance.
I was just wondering the same thing.
I will be playing my mother. So
oh, love that
main character with the dog. Yeah, it's really been fun. Also, that's another thing that I've had to deal with is to choreograph and also be a main character in a piece. And like I said, I've done that before for smaller pieces, but this is a 45-minute show, and the main character and the dog are on the stage the whole time. Like they never leave the stage, basically. So,
oh, sorry, Marcela, go ahead. No, I was just going to ask you, how many people then in total are involved in the production? If it's, because if it's you and the dog on stage the whole time.
So it's a total cast of 9 people, and it is double casted. So there is another beautiful dancer who is going to be playing also my mom, and there's another dancer for the dog, just because it's always good to have double casting. But yeah, so it's a cast of 9 people. That being said, we have managed to kind of being able to turn it into a cast of 7 people, or if it's needed even less, just because like the main purpose of this is it to be like a traveling show. So we're able to kind of edit it in a way that fits whatever the venue it is that we are dancing in.
That's so interesting. That's good to know. It's just because you see something on social media, like we saw the post and I knew a little bit about it, but now it's like this is all coming together. This makes sense.
Cool. And so just a quick rundown of the characters so you kind of get an idea. It's the mom, which or like the human, you can call it, right? Like the main human, the main woman, dog. There's also a cat, which is actually my mom's like first pet, right? So because before Chocolat, my mom had a cat, right? So there's a cat. There's also the grandparents as well. Then we have, which is my favorite part of the story, we have this really nice beach scene, and so where the dog gets to experience sand for the first time and the ocean and waves. And so what we have done is we have dancers dancing as waves and as fishes as well, so that's like really fun. And so we have like a vet, so it's like a full cast, definitely. And I think, and there's also a tourist as well. So I think like every single character that is in the book is in the story, just like adapted differently. But yeah, it's a full cast, and it has a bunch of like hard working dancers. So I'm really excited for it.
Cool. All right. And lastly, if our listeners are in the St. Louis area and want to check out this ballet, when and where can they see it?
Yeah, so we actually have about maybe like 5, or I would say like around 5 events that are free to the audience, and I'll just briefly call them out. But actually our main ticketed event is going to be on June 4th at 11 a.m. and at 1:30 a.m. and that's at the Kirkwood Performing Arts Center. It's going to be in a outdoor theater, so like people can come and like bring a blanket, or we'll have chairs to give as well, and it's going to be like a really fun time, and that's in June 4th. But before that, the actual first premiere is going to be on April 30th, and that's going to be at the Spencer Road Library branch. And yeah, so I'll give you the link, but there's like a whole list of places and time where people can come see it. And also, lastly, before I forget, there is going to be a virtual streaming of the show as well. And so it is going to be at first it is going to be shown on by May 14. Yes, by May 14 with the St. Louis County Library very online program as well. So that's going to be seen, but we'll also show it in the company website for like a limited time.
Oh, so Kristen will have to check it out.
Yes, we will. And yeah, if you send us that information, Marcela, we'd also be happy to share that along as well. So hopefully some of our other listeners, even if they're not in the St. Louis area, can witness it as well. That's so awesome.
Yeah.
Great.
Well, congratulations, Marcela. It's so exciting to see one of our peers do this amazing undertaking. You know, it sounds like so much work, but so gratifying, so rewarding. And the finished product is coming up soon. So yeah, we're wishing you the best of luck.
Yes, thank you so much. And I'm excited. And I hope that people besides that live in St. Louis are able to see it once we have it online.
Yes. Yes. Congratulations, Marcela. This is so exciting. And thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to talk about it with us.
Thank you.
Of course, thank you.
Thanks for tuning into Abundance. We appreciate your support. We hope to have PK'd your interest. Feel free to contact us at abundancepodcast5678@gmail.com and give us feedback on what you'd like to hear. That is abundance without parentheses. Go dance yourself silly. Bye for now.
A special thank you to Richard DiFiore for our lovely podcast tune and Matt Mellish for our cover art.